Come here.
Crazy guy.
My cats are going psychotic. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Coach Magali. If you're new here, if you are not new and are coming back, thanks again for being here. I appreciate you. On this channel, I talk all things fitness, nutrition, busting the BS, and getting you the information you actually need to know to accomplish your goals, whether that's fat loss, building muscle, getting healthier. I am a personal trainer, and my goal is to make fitness easy and simple for everybody. And if that's the stuff that you're into, please do consider subscribing down below and making sure you do like the video. It does help get my videos out there to more people. With that all being said, the topic of today's video is 3 very common weight loss mistakes that a lot of people do that prevent them from seeing the results that they want. And these are just 3 of the many that there are, but it's 3 that I see a lot. And I don't think people really understand their mistakes. So that's why it's kind of confusing, because you don't really know it's a mistake. How would you know not to do that? Whereas cut back on junk food, like there's those obvious mistakes, but I feel like these 3 are a little bit hidden and prevent a lot of people from seeing the results that they want. So let's get right into it. Mistake number 1, underestimating how much you're actually eating. Such a common problem. It's the majority of why people can't lose weight. The lack of understanding how many calories you're actually consuming. When it comes to saving for a down payment for a house, you know that you have to be meticulous with your money. You have to know where every dollar is going. You have to know how much you're earning, and you have to keep track of that accurately to ensure that your savings go up. And it's very similar when it comes to losing weight. You have to know where your calories roughly are, how much you should be eating, and whether or not you're staying on track. The problem with people just not really understanding how much they're eating is not having a basic understanding of what proper food portions are and how many calories are in things that you normally eat or in the portions that you eat them. So many times I've had conversations with clients. They tell me they're eating the same thing, they're telling me they're eating the right amount of calories, and then when I get further into the conversation, I ask, well, how do you measure it? How do you know that that's 1 serving? And they say, oh, I eyeball it, or oh, I kind of just guess. We are so horrible at being accurate with this stuff. And know that it's not because you're trying to lie or this is something to shame you. It's just when you're overeating your calories, just like when you're overspending your money, it's frustrating when you're not getting to your goal, but the truth is, it's just there's an imbalance somewhere, and we're not really being truthful, whether intentionally or unintentionally, with what we're eating and being where we need to be. My biggest recommendation when it comes to addressing this mistake and ensuring that it's not the trap that you fall into, accurately assessing and taking inventory of where you're starting. So many people don't want to track their calories, they don't want to have a food journal, they don't want to do some sort of tracking method, and then wonder why months later they're still not to their goal. Like, you have to know where you're starting from, you have to know your baseline. If we don't know where you're starting from, how can we possibly measure progress? How can we make the right choice for you when it comes to nutrition? Something that I always try to work with my clients is figuring out a method that is realistic for them, that isn't too stressful, but that still allows them to accurately track. For some clients, that's going to be tracking their calories. For some clients, it's going to be taking photos. For some clients, it's going to be a very specific meal plan they follow. For others, it'll be a food journal where they just write down what they eat. There is no right answer. There is no right way. Whatever method allows them to be as accurate as possible is best, because it is so easy to miss calories. It is so easy to think that you're eating 500 when in reality it's 800. On the screen, I'll place 2 examples. The other one will be portioned out exactly with measurements and calories. It looks similar if you don't have the eye for catching these details, but if you look at the macros, the calories, it's a big difference, and it can make losing weight significantly more difficult than it needs to be if you're not aware of those sneaky calories. Humans are horrible at remembering things or accurately eyeballing things unless you've had the practice of tracking for a long time. Mistake is, you think you're eating X amount of calories when in reality it's up here, and you think you're in a deficit, you think you're eating the right amounts of foods, but you're not. And so you go to the gym, you do your routines, you're doing everything else right, but you're like, I'm not getting where I want to be. What the hell? It's because the calories are still too high. So take inventory, see where your calories are really going, see how much you're really eating, do that for a solid 7 days, get very honest with yourself, and then from there, budget your calories accordingly to make sure you're sticking to the right amount. Now, if you don't know where you should be with calories, you don't know what to eat, down below I'm going to put a video that I recommend to a lot of my clients that explains it very clearly, how to figure out the right calories for you. Check that video out. If you don't know how to do this yet, Once you have that information, then you start tracking for 7 days. It's going to allow you to make the best possible decision for yourself to make sure you're eating the right amount. Mistake number 1, you're eating too much and you're not aware of it. Number 2 is using food as a treat for your workouts, or eating back the calories that your watch or the Stairmaster told you burned because you deserve it, and like, well, this means I can eat more now. This gets a lot of people. First of all, we're already probably over our calories based on mistake number 1. Now you go to the gym, you work out, you push yourself really hard, the machine says you burned 800 calories, your watch says 900, you're like, okay, well, that's about 800 calories that I can eat extra throughout the day because I worked for it, I deserve it. Now you're eating back the calories that you burned off, which is defeating the purpose of losing weight. But also, and the most important part about this, is that exercise, unfortunately, and I wish more people knew this and classes would stop promoting misinformation, exercise does not burn that many calories compared to what you think it does. Your watch will say 800. Studies have shown certain watches and certain machines can be off by 60 to 70%, if not more. Again, we're probably overeating, and now we're eating more than we should based on a false number. You're just not going to lose any weight ever because you're never giving your body the chance to stay in a deficit. You're always overfeeding it. Now, again, most people don't know this. Most people think of this as like accurate trackers. It's telling the truth. You know, I can eat these calories back. It's no big deal, but it is a big deal. Mainly because you're there to work out and lose weight. So why would you eat calories back? But also, you're starting off with a false number and it's not even right. Another thing, that you're using exercise as a way to eat more, not for the benefits and the good that it brings to your life. You develop a negative relationship with exercise where it makes it very difficult to stay consistent long term so that you can see the results that you want. I always use exercise as its own thing and weight loss specifically relating to nutrition, because exercise not only does not burn that many calories to begin with, trackers are inaccurate and machines are telling you you're burning more than you really are, but then it also makes exercise not fun. So it makes losing weight this much more difficult process. So instead, when it comes to exercise, I just use the client goals, what they want to build, glutes, legs, arms, what strength goals they have, what performance goals they have, and that's what I focus on in the gym. And in the nutrition aspect of it, that's where we dial it in, make sure they're eating the right foods for them and they're staying on track with that. That's where people lose the momentum, is somewhere in the dietary choices, the calories are too high and they need to be brought down. Keep exercise and weight loss separate. Use exercise to build yourself in the gym, to build muscle, to get strong, to work on the things that you care about, and then dial in your nutrition to ensure you're in a deficit so that you lose body fat at the same time. I'll throw in a bonus mistake here, thinking that you have to lose body fat before you can start building muscle, and so people put off going to the gym or lifting weights because they think they need to be leaner. First of all, again, they're separate, so you can work on both at the same time, but the more muscle you build, stronger you are, it's going to help you keep that weight off as you're losing it. If you lose a bunch of weight but there's no muscle there, it's going to be very difficult to keep it off, but also the goal that you have in your mind of a toned body, strong, thick, nice glutes, is going to be achieved by building muscle. So if you focus on losing weight with your nutrition simultaneously with exercise, it's going to result in the best outcome. Do not use exercise as an excuse to eat. Don't eat back your calories. Don't rely on your watch for that information, and keep exercise and weight loss as two different things. It's going to save you a lot of sanity and it's going to get you much better results. And lastly, not having enough structure / rules / guidelines. And I say this with an asterisk because I think people believe that the more strict, the more rules, the more this, the more lines that I can't cross, the better. But when it comes to day-to-day implementation, like when I'm going to eat, what meals I'm going to make, what time am I going to eat, those are the guidelines and the rules that you should be focusing on, not on eliminating food groups or not eating bread or cutting out candy. Then they're usually overly restrictive and they make you not want to stay on track, and they make you want to give up, therefore not being consistent, therefore not getting anywhere. But the rules and guidelines that I'm talking about is knowing what your meal plan is for the day, knowing where you're going to get your protein from. Are you going to do protein shakes? Are you going to do animal protein? Are you vegan or vegetarian? Do you need a supplement? All of these details are necessary to ensure you are successful with keeping your diet where it needs to be in order to lose weight. Knowing what you're going to have for breakfast to ensure that you stay on track with your nutrition, but instead people just make these vague giant guidelines like no bread, no this, eating past 6. Okay, but what are you going to eat? When are you going to eat? How are you going to eat? How are you going to get your protein? What food choices are you going to make different that will allow you to stay on track? People need more structure and guidelines when it comes to their day-to-day actual decisions, and less so much on these giant restrictive rules. Like, you'll have somebody say, oh, I'm gonna lose weight, I'm gonna go on keto. Okay, so what does your meal plan look like? What are you eating in a day? How many meals a day are you gonna eat? What are they gonna look like? You should have some sort of guideline to follow to make sure that you're eating the right amounts of food with the right amount of portions, the right amount of protein, etc. Instead of just being like, I'm gonna do keto and cut out all carbs. Instead of trying to make these giant, like, restrictive dietary changes, focus more on perfecting your day-to-day routine, meal planning, meal prepping, getting a meal service, whatever method is gonna work for you to keep you consistent. A lot of people leave it up to the air, life gets in the way, things get crazy, events come up, and they lose the control because they didn't have any foundation to come back to. Whereas somebody who has a meal plan, who knows what they're eating that day, who knows how many grams of protein they should be eating, who knows how many calories they should be eating, is going to be much more prepared when life throws all these curveballs to stay on track and be consistent. Because again, with anything that we do in fitness, the most important part about it is staying consistent. You can have the most perfect plan on paper, but if you don't do it consistently, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter how great or perfect or grandiose your plan is. I'm going to do keto, not do any junk food. I'm going to drink 10 gallons of water a day. I'm going to work out 7 days a week. Okay, cool. Not necessary, but cool. Versus somebody who's maybe not so strict, not so rigid with that, but it's like, I'm going to have this for breakfast tomorrow. I'm going to have this for lunch. I'm going to eat this many grams of protein. Those are the rules that matter and actually make a difference than these random vague goals without a plan. Not having the right structure and the discipline in the right things, and over focusing on the disciplines and guidelines of things that actually don't matter. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there are many more mistakes that I can cover. Weight loss is hard, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to come across challenges, and that's normal. Like, no matter how many things you do to prepare, how many meal plans you write for yourself, like, life is complicated. You're gonna get thrown off, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna have to backtrack, you're gonna have to adjust, you're gonna have to make some changes. It's just part of the game. As long as you stay consistent with yourself and you stick to something that you know you can do. So don't aim for 5 days a week at the gym if you can only do 3. Don't go for keto if you know you love your carbs. Choose something that is relatively realistic for you, that is allowing you to stay on track and get to your goals. Because ultimately, weight loss takes time, change takes time, and you need to be able to stick it out to see it happen. You can't choose the perfect plan, like I said before, and not execute it and expect to get anywhere. Understand that you're going to make mistakes. Don't try to avoid it altogether, but I figure just putting these 3 out there will make it a little bit easier to not fall into these traps, because these are 3 of the most common mistakes that I see that a lot of people don't really realize that they're mistakes. And I hope that if you're struggling with one of those things, that this video was helpful. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please share it with a friend. Make sure to like the video down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Good luck with your weight loss journey. You got this. I believe in you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.